In our previous lecture, we officially introduced Apache Kafka and understood its purpose as a distributed event streaming platform. Now it's time to get hands-on with its core vocabulary. Just like any new skill or domain, Kafka has its own set of terms and concepts. Mastering these is absolutely essential for understanding how Kafka works, how to interact with it, and how to design powerful event-driven systems. Don't worry, we'll break down each term with clear explanations and analogies. By the end of this lecture, you'll have a solid foundation of Kafka's internal structure. Let's start with the most fundamental unit, which is events. Events or records or messages, so these are the fundamental unit. This is the very data that Kafka handles. You will hear these terms used somewhat interchangeably, but let's clarify them. Event is the high-level conceptual term we have been using. It signifies something that happened, an immutable fact. Record. This is the more precise term used within Kafka's internal design and APIs. Every piece of data sent to Kafka is stored as a record. Record is the more precise term used within Kafka's internal design and APIs. Every piece of data sent to Kafka is stored as a record. Message is a more generic term often used in messaging systems. In Kafka's context, message is often synonymous with record or event. So for our purposes, you can largely think of them as the same thing, the fundamental unit of data in Kafka. Now, what does a Kafka record consist of? A Kafka record isn't just raw data. It's a structured piece of information. First, we have the key, which is optional. It is a byte array used for grouping related events. If a key is provided, Kafka guarantees that all records with the same key will go to the same partition. We will explain partitions in a moment. So this key is crucial for maintaining order for related events. We are going to be discussing key repeatedly, and this concept will be grasped by you as we work more and more on Kafka. So if no key is provided, records are distributed in a round-robin fashion. However, if a key is provided, then those messages associated with the key are going to be stored in the same partition. For example, we have user ID as the key, and similarly we have order ID. So order ID is going to be the key. The key comes before the data. Data, the payload can be changed, but the key will remain the same, so that all the similar data is clubbed together, is going to the same partition. And next we have value. This is the actual data payload, the content of your event. It's also a byte array, meaning you can send anything. You can send text, JSON, Avro, protobuf, or anything else. These are all different types of data, different types of payload that we can transmit. Next we have timestamp, the time the event occurred, often called event time, or the time it was ingested by Kafka, which is the ingestion time. This is automatically added. And finally, we have headers, which are optional, just like key. Headers is a collection of key value pairs for additional metadata about the event. This can be useful for tracing, routing, or adding context without modifying the main value. So when we talk about sending data to Kafka, we are talking about sending these structured records. Next, how does Kafka organize these events? Through topics. A topic is essentially a category name or a feed name to which records are published. Think of it like a folder in a file system. All related files go into one folder. Or you can consider it like a TV channel. All shows about a specific genre like sports news are on that channel. Or you can take another analogy like a database table. All records of a certain type, for example payments, go into that table. So that is topics. Key characteristics of topics are that every topic has a unique name. For example, user signups, order events, sensor data, or anything else. All right, it's up to us what we name that channel. All events related to a specific domain or business process are typically sent to the same topic. All right, so we see logical grouping in topics. And many different applications can publish events to the same topic, and many different applications can subscribe and read events from the same topic. And finally, events within a topic are retained for a configurable period. Default is typically 7 days, but can be much longer or even infinite. They are not deleted once consumed. So we understand that topics are high-level containers for our event streams. While a topic is a logical grouping to achieve Kafka's immense scalability and fault tolerance, each topic is physically divided into one or more partitions. A partition is an ordered, immutable sequence of records that is continually appended to. Think of it as a mini log file within a topic. Key characteristics of partitions are that they are ordered within partition. Events within a single partition are always stored and read in the order they were produced. If you send event A and then event B to partition 0, a consumer reading partition 0 will always see event A before event B. Next characteristic is that there is no guaranteed order of events across different partitions within the same topic. So if there are different partitions, there is no order guaranteed. An event in partition 0 might have been produced after an event in partition 1, even if they belong to the same topic. Alright, so for order, the topic doesn't matter. It's the partition that matters for the order to be maintained. Each record within a partition is assigned a unique sequential ID number called an offset. This offset acts as its address within that partition. Consumers use offsets to track their position in a partition. Think of it like the seek bar on a video. So if you leave the video at a point and then you come back and you resume the video, that point is your offset where you left the video. Alright, and next we have unit of parallelism. Partitions are the key to Kafka's horizontal scalability. Producers write to specific partitions and consumers read from specific partitions. By having multiple partitions, many producers and consumers can operate in parallel, distributing the load across many servers. And each partition is a set of log files stored on one of Kafka's servers. Now, how are records assigned to partitions? By key, which is the most common scenario. If a record has a key, Kafka guarantees that all records with the same key will always go to the same partition. That's a guarantee. This is crucial when you need to process related events in order. For example, all events for user ID 123 must be processed sequentially. Kafka uses a hashing function on the key to determine the partition. So it's not the key that determines the partition. Kafka actually hashes the key and then decides to which partition the key will be assigned. And if a record has no key, it's typically distributed in a round-robin fashion among the partitions to ensure even load distribution. You can also write your own logic to decide which partition a record goes to. The number of partitions you choose for a topic is a crucial design decision for performance and scalability. Now let's talk about the applications that interact with Kafka. A producer is a client application that publishes, which means writes records to Kafka topics. Key roles of a producer include that it sends records. That means it takes your application data, wraps it into a Kafka record with a key, value, etc., and sends it to a specified topic. Producer can explicitly specify a partition or more commonly relies on Kafka's partitioning logic, for example based on the record's key, to decide which partition the record will land in. Producers typically send records asynchronously, meaning they don't wait for Kafka to fully confirm the record's storage before moving on to their next task. This allows for very high throughput. Producers are robust and can be configured to retry sending records if there are transient network issues or broker failures. So, producers are the entry point for your data into the Kafka ecosystem. On the other side of the stream, we have consumers. A consumer is a client application that subscribes to one or more Kafka topics and processes the records from them. Key roles of a consumer include pulling records. That means, unlike some traditional messaging systems that push messages, Kafka consumers pull records from the topics at their own pace. This gives consumers more control. A consumer reads records from specific partitions within a topic. Consumers keep track of their position, the offset, within each partition they are reading. This allows them to know which records they've already processed and where to pick up if they stop and restart. This is stored in a special Kafka topic itself, which is very clever. Multiple consumers can read from the same topic without affecting each other. Each consumer maintains its own offset. So by now we understand that consumers are how your applications derive insights and trigger actions based on the events flowing through Kafka. Now let's come to brokers. The physical machine that make up a Kafka system are called brokers. A broker is a single Kafka server that runs within a Kafka cluster. Key functions of a broker include storing data. Brokers store the partitions and their replicas for various topics. They receive records from producers and serve those records to consumers. In Kafka 4.0, brokers are self-managing. They use the KRaft Kafka Raft protocol to elect a leader among themselves and manage cluster metadata like which topics exist, how many partitions, where they are located, etc., eliminating the need for an external zookeeper. Brokers are responsible for replicating partitions across other brokers to ensure fault tolerance. If one broker fails, its partitions have replicas on other brokers, preventing data loss and ensuring availability. A collection of interconnected Kafka brokers forms a Kafka cluster. For robustness, a production Kafka cluster typically has at least 3 brokers, but can scale to hundreds. Finally, one of the most powerful concepts for scaling consumption in Kafka is the consumer group. A consumer group is a collection of one or more consumers that work together to consume messages from one or more topics. Key characteristics of consumer groups include load balancing and parallelism. The primary purpose of a consumer group is to enable parallel processing of a topic. Within a consumer group, each partition is assigned to exactly one consumer instance. And if you have 3 partitions and 3 consumers in a group, each consumer reads from one partition. If you add another consumer to the group, Kafka automatically reassigns partitions, so each consumer still gets a unique set of partitions. This ensures that each record in a topic is processed by only one consumer within that specific group. If a consumer instance within a group fails, Kafka automatically reassigns its partitions to other active consumers in the same group, ensuring continuous processing. Different consumer groups can consume the same topic independently, each maintaining its own offsets. Imagine a news agency. One team, which is consumer group A, reads the news feed to update the website. Another team, consumer group B, reads the exact same newsfeed to archive it. A third team, Consumer Group C, reads it for sentiment analysis. All teams operate independently, reading the same data without affecting each other. Consumer groups are fundamental for building scalable and resilient data processing pipelines with Kafka. You now have a robust understanding of Kafka's key concepts and terminology. This vocabulary will be invaluable as we move forward.